We have our very first solo queue rating for Naafiri, as she's now on live servers, while a few of the champions buffed this patch have seen some pretty meteoric rises. Welcome back everyone to a brand new tier list update, where with the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data, we strive to bring you guys the most accurate update on the solo queue meta for the majority of ranks. And just before we get into it, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. Stop wasting your time grinding thousands of games only to see no progress. With SkillCapped, you'll uncover the secrets to climbing ranks fast that only take a few minutes to learn and can be immediately applied in your next game. The best part is it's completely risk-free to try, as you're kept safe with our rank up insurance. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted by clicking the link in the description below. Alright, now back to the video, starting with the top lane. The first adjustment we will be making to the top lane tier list for mid-patch is moving Aatrox up one more tier. We had bumped him from A into S for the pre-patch tier list, but he's in need of a push even further into OP as the buffs are looking absolutely amazing. Aatrox is actually much better for the lower ranks now than high elo, because the buffs he got increased his scaling strength. In the past, the champion has always been more skewed to performing best in the higher ranks, but that is no longer the case in 13.14, especially now that Jax has been nerfed. If you're looking for a new fighter to add to your champion pool, Aatrox is highest priority for the time being. To learn more about Aatrox, our challenger top laner Sam has a brand new full game commentary for you guys on our website. For an update on how the ghost adjustments have affected certain top lane picks, to our surprise, they've been very power neutral. With the removal of the reset on takedowns, we were expecting a net negative outcome, but the 5 seconds added to the duration has so far proven to be enough to even things out. We had originally dropped Olaf and Darius down the tier list, anticipating the ghost changes to hit harder, but since that has not been the case, we will be adjusting them back up into S for mid-patch. If we take a look at the complete top lane tier list, just a few moving parts for mid-patch. As noted earlier, Aatrox will be moving up, joining Fiora and Malphite in the top lane OP tier. Jax nerfs have really not done a whole lot in reducing his solo queue viability, so if you've been enjoying the pick in recent patches, no reason to drop him, as he's still a very respectable S tier pick. Volibear was the other top lane champ buffed for this patch, but his changes have not been overall impactful either, which means we are keeping him down in the top lane B tier. Due to their high play rates and strength in meta, best bans of the patch are going to be exactly the same as the OP tier, with Fiora, Aatrox, and Malphite. To smash your way out of low elo the fastest, look into adding Malphite, Mundo, or Garen to your champion pool. There have been some pretty massive moves for the jungle meta in 13.14, and one of the biggest risers has been Shyvana. We noted in our pre-patch tier list that an AD build could start popping up due to the Q buff, and that is exactly what has occurred. Blade of the Ruined King Rush into Iceborne 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd is a really solid 3-item core performing great so far. A Q max is accompanying this build extremely well, as the spell maxed out provides you with so much dueling power. A Shyvana with ultimate and Blade of the Ruined King completed is not to be messed with. You can really get some easy elo abusing the style of play on Shyvana, because players are so used to the champ being played AP with more of a poke with E playstyle. Shyvana is definitely more of a low elo stomper. Once you get to Diamond and above, she does fall off a bit, but since our tier lists are catered more to what's best for Diamond and below, we will be moving Shyvana up into S tier for mid-patch. Moving on to having a look at the complete jungle tier list. The OP tier will consist of Kha'Zix, Ivern, and Rek'Sai. Other than moving Shyvana up, Rek'Sai going back into OP is the only other change to the tier list for mid-patch. 2 patches in a row now where Rek'Sai has been nerfed, but the changes really haven't done much to her overall power level, which is a bit of a shock, but maybe third time's the charm. There were a plethora of other junglers changed this patch as well, and all of them have aligned with our expectations. Hecarim has seen a pretty big drop in power, and he is now down in the jungle B tier. Rengar has seen a slight dip in strength as well, and takes up a spot in the A tier. The Kindred nerfs have played out how we anticipated, with the champion really losing no power at all. The Volley, Diana, and Shaco buffs were not enough to significantly increase their power, so they remain as quite average solo queue options. Naafiri has hit live servers, and as we've come to expect with the majority of new releases these days, the champ is in a very strong spot right off the rip. For everything you need to know to get started on Naafiri, check out our guide we released last week. Some hotfix nerfs have already been issued to try and tone down Naafiri's strength as a mid laner specifically. Jungle Naafiri really isn't doing all that well so far, and Riot has stated that they are looking into some jungle specific buffs for 13.15. Even though these hotfix nerfs are aimed more towards mid Naafiri, they will still negatively affect her as a jungler too. Base move speed is going down from 340 to 335. Q bleed damage has been reduced at the later ranks, and Q damage to minions is down from 70 to 60%. E damage scaling has also been hit, with not only the base damage dropping, but the scaling ratio too. Lastly, the AD boost from R has been lowered from 10 scaling to 30 to 5 scaling to 25. Scaling ratio on R has dropped from 15 scaling to 25% to 5 scaling to 20%. Prior to these hotfix nerfs, Naafiri was projecting as an OP tier mid lane pick, but now that these changes have been issued, we expect expect her to settle in the A or S tier level. It's super hard to rate new champs like this, especially when they are getting so many hotfix changes, so hopefully in 13.15 we should have a more solidified rating of the champ. Without question, Naafiri is in a great spot as a mid laner, so definitely look to pick her up if you've been thinking of it, and for now she will be placed in the mid lane S tier. One of the biggest winners of the entire patch, and now the best mage that you can play for solo queue, is Xerath. For such unique changes like Xerath received, it was really hard to judge how powerful the outcome would be since we don't run into these alterations too often. As a result, we left Xerath in our A tier for the pre-patch tier list, but are now confident enough in moving him into S for mid-patch. We just can't warrant a push into OP tier though, due to the champ still having quite a few troublesome matchups for solo queue. Assassins like Fizz and Zed are still going to give Xerath issues, so despite the champ being extremely strong now, he's not immune to everything. The buffs to Lissandra have played out quite nicely, and she has met our expectations as a good S tier pick for solo queue. The champion absolutely thrives into melee mids like Yasuo, Fizz, and Yone, as her point-and-click lockdown really removes the ability for those champs to outplay with mobility. The longer range mages are who you're going to find the most difficulties against, so banning out someone like Xerath or Syndra is a good idea. Overall, quite positive changes for Lissandra, and she is back in the mid lane meta for the first time in what seems like ages. This may come as a bit of a shock to some, but the mid lane champ being played the most by pros in solo queue right now is Tristana. They're really liking the pick due to its ability to create perma priority and abuse the static Shiv Rush extremely well. Skirmish of the champion is extremely strong as well, which gives her a lot of agency over how the early game plays out. If you're looking for a mid lane champion who can really take control of the lane and snowball super hard, then Trist is a great S tier option right now. Let's move on to breaking down the mid lane tier list, as it's looking fairly similar to where we had it pre-patch. OP tier will be locked down by Neeko and Talon, as they are a cut above the rest. Diana and Xerath have both been moved into the mid lane S tier due to their buffs being quite impactful. Diana mid is actually an insanely good answer to many of the melee mids like Katarina, Zed, Yasuo, and Sylas, so she's a super sleeper pickup for 13.14. With his buffs this patch, Aatrox is not only a very strong top lane pick, but he can be pulled out in mid lane to great success too. Champ does extremely well into pretty much all melee matchups, as the longer range control mages are the only ones who can limit his power. You'll find Aatrox taking up a spot in the mid lane S tier for this patch. A few of the best mid lane bans for the current meta include Zed, Neeko, and Fizz. Malzahar, Aurelion Sol, and Annie are three of the most optimal champs to spam if you are looking to climb low elo the fastest. With the nerfs to Gale Force this patch, one champion who has felt the changes more than the rest is Jhin. Infinity Edge has actually started to outperform Gale Force, but very few players have caught on to that yet. If you're looking to pick up Jhin right now, then definitely try out a core build of Storm Razor, Infinity Edge, and Rapid Fire Cannon. Jhin is not in a terrible spot right now, but he's no longer a strong S tier pick for solo queue, so you'll find him in our ADC A tier. Even with another round of static Shiv nerfs this patch, the item continues to perform extremely well on Kai'Sa, and she'll be bumped up into OP tier. There's really no ADC more versatile right now, as the champion has three unique builds that are insanely powerful. Kai'Sa is also loving the shift away from Enchanter supports and over to more CC engaged supports, as she gets way more value out of her passive this way. Now that Melio has been nerfed, there's not a single Enchanter in the top 5 most played for support in 13.14. With a bunch of ADCs falling in power due to the Gale Force nerfs and Rakan seeing a spike in play rate, this patch is looking really nice for Xayah. The champion does really well with a Kraken into Quickblade's core, so you definitely don't want to be running Gale Force after the nerfs. With Kai'Sa moving up into OP and Jhin moving down into A, Xayah will be moved up and take control of an S tier spot. Let's have a look at the ADC tier list for 13.14, as the OP carries will consist of Ashe, Miss Fortune, and Kai'Sa. Trinity Force was changed this patch, but it really has not had a negative effect on any of its users at all. Ezreal, Ashe, and Draven remain really great Trinity Force users and continue to be rated as some of the best solo queue options. Lucian is one ADC who has taken a pretty solid hit this patch due to the Gale Force nerf, and he's not performing all that well with alternative options. The fact Nami has completely fallen off a cliff power-wise means Lucian has indirectly become much weaker of an option in general. As a result, we will be shifting him down into B tier as an average solo queue champion. Highest on the ban list for ADC are Kai'Sa, Draven, and Ezreal. A few of the best champions to spam for low elo are Twitch, Miss Fortune, and Ashe. To much of our surprise, and likely many others, Xerath's support is actually in a better spot analytically this patch than he was in 13.13. With the loss of mana early in lane, we expected the power of the champion to drop off significantly, but the R buffs are proving to compensate extremely well. Riot themselves even stated that they intended for the changes to negatively affect Xerath's support, but he's actually seen a spike in win rate. The poke power in lane is definitely weaker, but the level 6 all-in power has been bolstered, which has been a positive trade-off. With an ADC like Ashe being spammed quite a bit in in meta, Xerath's support can complement her perfectly and follow up on those Ashe ultimates insanely well. We'll be moving Xerath back up to where he was before pre-patch in an S tier support slot. So other than the Xerath adjustments, all other support changes have panned out to our expectations. The OP tier for support is going to be locked down by Rel and Blitzcrank, while Rakan is moving up and joining them too. Rakan fits into this meta extremely well with someone like Kai'Sa being spammed a ton, Xayah holding a high pick rate, and Ashe up there as well. These ADCs who have long range follow-up are in meta, which complements Rakan's engage plays beautifully. Melio has taken a pretty big dive in power due to his nerfs this patch, and is really not worth picking up over enchanters like Soraka or Janna now. The support meta is currently dominated by melee supports more than it's been in the past year, so if you like being able to make plays, this meta is for you. Rel nerfs have been more of a small scratch than anything else, as she continues to be one of the most dominant melee supports. If you like playing those carry supports, then Zyra and Xerath are both great options due to their changes this patch and can be found in the S tier. The most optimal support bans include Nautilus, Blitzcrank, and Rel due to their high play rates and strength in meta. A few supports you should consider picking up to climb low elo are Heimerdinger, Zyra, and Rel. So that's gonna wrap everything up for this one, but if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. With premium courses for every role and skill taught by the best players, SkillCapped is the perfect platform to help take your game to the next level. Take our wave control course. While you wait for your next game to start, you can learn freezing, fast pushing, slow pushing, bouncing waves, the list goes on, all in just a few minutes to maximize your improvement rate. Or maybe you just like seeing your opponent's health go to 0. Then you'll love our trading course. We even have a skill test at the end so you can see how good you really are. Players just like you are leaving 5-star reviews and raving at how helpful they are. That's not all we offer though, as every week we release 10 brand new Smurf commentaries where a challenger player teaches you how to climb out of the exact rank you're stuck in. If you're looking for something more personal instead, then we got you covered with one-on-one coaching from our trained challenger experts. All that seemed too good to be true? Well, don't worry, we're backed by a rank up guarantee. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and get the rank you've always wanted. Thanks for watching everyone, good luck with your rank journey, and we will see you in the next one.